Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is, wherever you are. Thank you for listening to the Backlog Listing Project. My name is Wes. With me, as always, is Randy.
How you doing, Wes?
Fair to middling. I think would be a pretty good description right now. Alright.
Okay, that works.
Alright. The look you gave me after I said fair to middling, thought maybe you were going to go somewhere after that, but anyway. So, yeah, we're still pumping right along to the marathon here in less than 2 weeks. Ugh.
You're supposed to be excited about it. You're supposed to sell it to the people. Don't go, oh, we got a marathon, people. No, I'm excited.
The amount of stuff that's still coming together on that is ridiculous. But,
well, get off your ass and do it. God.
Oh, man.
Are you excited?
A little bit.
I'm going to take you to selling school. I'm going to teach you how to sell something to people. Are you excited about it, Wes? Very much so. I'm very excited. I cannot wait to be able to hang out with my buddy Randy for 24 hours and get my ass kicked in video games the entire time. Thanks, Wes. That's how you do it.
Okay, then. Moving on. Player A.
Sure.
All right.
Jesus.
We got...
Trying to get you through a promo is like trying to drag you through the game that we played together. It's tiring.
We'll get to that in a fair number of minutes here.
Jesus.
Can we get rolling here?
No.
Or do you have something else you want to cut in with when I'm trying to fucking move segments?
Hey, I'm just gonna do it whenever I want.
Jesus Christ. First player new game is Fire Emblem Fates for the 3DS, and I say game when it's actually technically two different releases. There's Fire Emblem Fates Conquest and Birthright on the 3DS, developed by Intelligent Systems. This is, of course, the latest entry in the Fire Emblem series, and its claim to fame for this iteration is that it's actually two halves to the same kind of storyline. And back when it was announced, I remember we participated in a 4-player co-op, where when this gimmick was announced, we wondered how Nintendo of America was going to handle it. And it seems like they're going to handle it by just having them two separate games, and then you can buy the other branches DLC. Or buy them all together in the special edition, which also comes out on the 19th. And basically it just kind of, the main character was born in one kingdom and raised in another, and you kind of have to decide which one you want to side with, and that's the divide between the two storylines. Other than that, it looks basically kind of like Fire Emblem, how the series has, for the last couple games, kind of iterating on previous mechanics, and, even though I've never gotten around to playing any of the Fire Emblem games, I'm still a fan of the strategy stuff, so I will probably play it at some point.
Yeah, I played the last Fire Emblem for the podcast. Mm-hmm. Very much enjoyed it. I like the strategy element of it, and I do like that if a character dies, he's gone for good, and all of that. So add in the stuff that now, I mean, your choices that you make start by which game you buy. Mm-hmm. is quite interesting. So yeah, I'm very interested in this. It's a play for me as well.
All right. Speaking of interesting, this next one kind of came out of left field when it was revealed. That would be Far Cry Primal, coming out on the 23rd for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and I believe the PC. Ubisoft's usually been pretty good about that. Developed by Ubisoft Montreal and published, of course, by Ubisoft. So this is a Far Cry game set in prehistory. And it basically, it honestly kind of looks like, Horizon Zero Dawn, except without the futuristic parts. They just basically went, Far Cry, with woolly mammoths. Okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it per se, but when I actually haven't played any of the Far Cry games yet...
Well, that's your problem.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I'm not sure if they'd be my kind of game anyway.
Yeah, because they could be difficult at times. Right? No, actually, I got into the Far Cry series with the last one. Far Cry 4 was my first one. Mm-hmm. and I very much was surprised by how much I enjoyed the game. Now add to it how you have to build your weapons and how it's a lot less focused on technology, and it could be an interesting side thing. I don't know if I'm going to get it right off the bat, but it definitely seems like it's going to be a game that I will play eventually, so it's a play for me, for sure.
I'm going to go very slight nay on this, for now. Opinion may change later, but just not enough. I haven't heard enough about it, and I haven't played the series at all, so I'm just kind of go pass for now. And now the next game on the list is from a company who's had a lot of games on Player Nay. It's The Walking Dead, the Michonne miniseries, which, am I saying that right? Because I'm not a Walking Dead person.
Michonne.
Okay. The first episode of this miniseries releases also on February 23rd for fucking everything. PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, and PC.
Screw off, Wii.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, I suppose that's a good point. But, developed, of course, by Telltale Games, and published by Telltale Games. And this is just the start of they're doing a mini-series focusing on Michonne. So, and it's a Telltale game, and that's really about all you need to say about it. If you like Telltale's style of game and you like The Walking Dead, sure, go for it.
No. Don't go for it.
Oh, dear. So,
I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead. I enjoy some of the Telltale games. I loved the first 2 seasons of The Walking Dead Telltale games. Mm-hmm. I want season 3. Stop wasting my time with a Michonne story, which is 3 episodes long. I want season 3 of The Walking Dead. I want to know what happens with the little girl and the baby and everything else. Don't waste my time. The nay for me. Well, come on, Telltale, get to the real story.
Well, after this, they're going to do Tales from the Borderlands season 2.
Well, that's fine. They could do multiple things. Should be where Walking Dead season 3 begins. Not Walking Dead, the Michonne story.
I was trying to get a rise out of you by saying they were going to do Tales
that's what
from the
Telltale's doing anyways. They have 97 different things happening right now.
Alright. And then, last on the docket for Player Nay is, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2, also releasing on the 23rd, coming out for Xbox One and PC, developed, of course, by Electronic Arts. And, this is just, their squad-based shooter set in the Plants vs. Zombies universe. I remember E3, at E3, it was just kind of like, it was just kind of like the comic relief of EA's conference, almost, because they did Unravel, and then they had the superhero zombie come out while Highway to the Danger Zone was playing. And I just remember sitting there in the group chat we were having with, you, me, and the co-op multiplayer guys, like Sean Garmer and everybody, and we were like, all sitting there like, ooh, Unravel, that sounds nice. And then, oh, hey, farting superhero zombie while Danger Zone plays, because Plants vs. Zombies. That all being said, though, I seem to remember the original Garden Warfare being actually surprisingly decent from what I heard.
Beyond decent. It was great.
I never personally played it, but, if it's them improving on the formula and adding new stuff, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be fun. I'll go ahead and say, play, at some point.
So here's my problem. Like I said, I very much enjoyed playing Garden Warfare. It was a nice getaway kind of game. Throw it in, play it for a half hour, an hour, or whatever. Have some fun with some friends. But if memory serves me right, when it first came out, it was $20 or $30. It was not a full-priced game, which was perfect, because it's not a full game. It's just goofy maps where you're playing shooter, death matches, like Call of Duty style, but with the Plants vs. Zombies characters, and it was cute, more, cartoonish style. I just looked this one up. It's a full $60, and from everything I've seen, it's just more of what the first one was. It's not like you're going to get 19 different modes or anything. I'm not paying $60 for this. Sorry. So, for now, it's a nay. Once it gets down to the $20, $30 range, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see a point for that. So I'd probably actually change my answer to basically what you just said. Once it comes on sale, or goes on PlayStation Plus, or excuse me, not PlayStation Plus, because it's not coming out for PS4 right now. Because Microsoft. But you get what I mean.
Yep.
If the price came down and I acquired brain damage and wanted to have an Xbox One, I would take a look at it. But other than that, yeah. So that'll do it for Player Nate for this episode. We will go ahead and move right into our played games for this episode.
Yes.
Starting with, as always, our co-played game, which
Yes.
was Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. Released, we played it on the PS4 version, which released a week ago, on the 9th of February. Originally released for the PC on the 9th of September last year. It was developed by a company by the name of Asteroid Base, and it's basically how would you want to describe this game, genre-wise?
A friend ender. A friendship destroyer.
I'll go ahead and say a co-op twin-stick shooter, even though there's not much twin-stick involved.
It's a four-stick shooter.
Yeah. Because no, I was trying to say because you don't really, because twin-stick, don't you like move the ship around with like the analog sticks?
Yeah.
Whereas
it's nothing
Lovers,
like a twin-stick shooter.
Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. It's you and one other person are sitting there controlling the ship, and the ship has a multitude of stations that you can move around to using the analog stick, and then you take over a station by pressing square, and then while you're on that station, you can press square to do things. Like if you're on the engine, it'll make the ship move. If you're on the shield, you can move the shield around using the analog stick. If you're on the weapons, you can aim and fire, etc., etc.
Or if you're Wes, you just stick to your shield and do nothing else.
Anyway,
so this is an interesting game. It's a cool little co-op puzzly shooter, I guess is the best way to put it. You're not like solving puzzles, but it's like a puzzle as far as you have to figure out the strategy of when to be on the engine, when to be on the shield, when to shoot, who's going to be on each station. You really have to work together. It's a true cooperative experience that is both enjoyable and frustrating at times.
Yeah.
But in a good way, because it never is cheap. It never feels like the game is just screwing you over. It just puts you in situations and you go, oh, we did wrong. Or you did wrong. Or I did wrong. Or we went in too fast and completely got ourselves ambushed. Or whatever. It really makes you want to have to take your time, find the best way to get through it, find all the bunnies that are in the cages, and move on. So,
the storyline in this game is basically there is an excuse. Basically, the Ardor reactor explodes, and you have to go through space to find the four pieces, and the pieces are like affecting the constellations, which are the bosses. And so you just go through each level, recovering your coworkers and friends and whatnot. You have to recover at least five in each stage before you can proceed. You can collect up to 10 in each stage. And yeah, that's about it for the story. It's just like I said, it's basically just there to give you an excuse to, fly the ship around and fail miserably at cooperation.
Yes.
But, so, the boss battles in this game, with the exception, I think, of the final boss, felt pretty easy to me.
You don't remember the bosses then, do you?
Which one do you think was, there were a few times where it was just us, being tired or screwing up, but as far as execution on the bosses, the only one I would say we had a significant problem with is the last boss. Because the first boss was the bear, which we literally lucked into. I stood on the shields while you shot at it, because its only attack was diving at you, completely telegraphed. The second boss was the worm, which we had a little bit of difficulty figuring out the shields, like when it blew you into the asteroid belt. The third boss was Orion.
Yep.
Which...
That one gives you trouble because he throws the balls of sun, which we're going to get to later, of how the cool mechanics they have in that game. And you have to shoot into the sun that bounces into him.
Oh, yeah, the shield mechanic. Yeah, that one was a little bit on the... okay, I'll grant you that.
He's frozen, so your bullets don't work, so you have to bounce your shots into the sun to melt him, and then he becomes vulnerable. And that one was a lot of co-op. And then the last battle...
King Cephas, I think it said.
King something.
King, it's Cephus.
King Cepheus?
Yeah.
Whatever. He throws all sorts of shit at you. He has balls of spikes surrounding him, which you have to shoot through to hit him, and then after a while they break off and they start floating around the whole thing. He shoots these vine things that block off different sections and basically come right at you. He shoots the big red ball of death, which is scary as hell, which both of us were terrible at directing ourselves away from. We got really good at following the same path as it and just wrecking our shit. But I thought each boss did a good job of taking the mechanics that you learn throughout their world and putting them right there. And that's the one thing I will say about this game. They throw in new mechanics, and like at the beginning of each world, your little doctor, instructor dude would just come on and say, oh no, there's water in this level, or oh no, there's ice in this, and that's it. And then you have to figure out how each mechanic works. Like there's the world with the water, where you just see bubbles of water basically, and it's through trial and error that you realize that if you're outside of this pocket of water, that you can't shoot into it. But if you're completely in the water, the enemies outside cannot hit you. So there's a lot of strategy involved. And I like how then that is used in the boss.
Well, the water though wasn't really used that much on the worm boss though. That was more, it was there, but the worm boss was more you had to make sure to hit it on its armor plates.
Yeah, but he goes into the water, so you can't hit him. So you have to wait for him to come out of the water to hit him while you are orbiting around. That's the other thing they have in this game, is the orbits around planets where there is some gravitational pull from planets that you can just sit there and it'll float around. There are jet streams that will take you places. There are stars that really have strong gravitational pull, which...
White dwarfs,
can drive you insane until you figure out the strategy there, which is basically point the shield at it and run into it.
Yeah. Or apparently you could shoot at it too, but we never really tried that. It was more just shield, because we were afraid of taking damage.
All the time.
Yeah. So, the music in this game wasn't really too much to write home about, I don't think. About the only time we really noticed it was you get into the next to last stage of the entire game, and all of a sudden it goes dubstep on you.
Yeah.
Like, very clearly dubstep. Yeah. And it's like, okay. Because before that it had been kind of like ambient, electronic, and it was nice, and it was unobtrusive, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, hey, you're in the next to last level of the game, dubstep.
Yep, time to ramp it up. I thought it was good, like, ambiance, I guess is the right word, like, just, like, as you said, background music kind of fits the space theme. So I had no problem with the music, but I agree. It's not like you're going to sit there and put it on your iTunes or anything. There's nothing special about it. But I don't know about you, but I thought the graphics were great.
Yeah.
It's very colorful, very cartoony. I thought everything kind of worked really well around everything. All the enemies looked unique.
Yeah. Like you could tell just from one glance what type of enemy it was. It wasn't it could be this or it could be this, which, because of especially in the later stages, the amount of stuff they throw at you, if you misidentify somebody, you're deep shit.
Yeah, because some are going to shoot out rockets, some are going to shoot out the like acid, basically.
Yeah.
Some shoot out the red balls of death, which, F you enemies. God, those are my least favorite of the whole game. Some will shoot out their children, which was weird. But, I mean,
just shoot. Vomit.
Vomit, thank you. So each one kind of did something a little bit different. Obviously very similar anyways, but just the way they react to your shield or whether you can hit it with a bullet or not. I agree. It's one of those. It's really good that they're all different so that you can understand what you're working with.
Yeah. Difficulty wise, if I think most of the difficulty of this game comes from just being on the same page.
Yes.
Because once we started clicking, we just kind of started mowing through. But if we fell out of step or, we're just tired and cranky, which happened a few times.
Yes.
It got a little bit on the difficult side.
Absolutely. But I mean, again, it's a fair difficult. It's one of those where when you die, you go, are bad.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like, oh my god, I can't believe, like, that was cheap, or that was broken, or how did that happen, or it was always, oops, we screwed up.
Yeah.
I guess the other thing I want to bring up, which we haven't really hit on yet, is, so you have the 4 guns.
Mm-hmm.
And you have...
Oh, the upgrade system?
Yep, so you have 4 guns, you have the shield, you have the engine, and you have...
The Yamato cannon.
The Yamato cannon, which is basically a huge defense system.
I was about to say oh shit button, but that works too.
That works. Oh shit button actually is probably better. So as things go, you can upgrade your ship, and in each world you can find these boxes that give you gems. These gems help you upgrade your ship. You have the power gems, which for the most part just soup things up, make your shield bigger, make you fly a little bit faster. If you put it on a gun, it shoots faster. For the most part, you have the laser ones,
beam gems,
the beam gems, which obviously if you put it on a gun, it makes a beam happen. It changes your shield up a little bit, makes it reflective, and if you put it on your engine, if you hold the gas long enough, you'll shoot a beam out of the engine. Mm-hmm. And then you have the metal gems, which give you a big giant spike ball on a chain. As a weapon, which are amazing. Or if you put it... Do we ever put just a metal gem on a shield by itself?
The metal, I don't think we put it by itself, but if you combine metal with beam, it basically created a shield that blocked not only blocked incoming projectiles, but like made them into like a minefield going off of the shield. So you could have like a stack of like 10...
Yeah, it builds to your shield and creates just extra stuff. If you put it in the engine, it's a waste. It puts little mines out that never really works for me. Yeah. But if you put it in the Yamato thing, it creates a big giant buzzsaw around your ship, which we always used it that way. Yeah. So I really like that. There's different things. As you upgrade, you can then start putting 2 in each of the weapons or whatever. So then you can start messing around with combinations, and each one of the gems worked differently together. Or if you stack them with like 2 metals, it gave you 2 spike balls. So I thought that was really smart of the game to let you have, a sense of this is our ship. This is what we're going to do to this ship and whatever. The thing I didn't like, I mean, and I understood, but every time you went to a new world, it wiped away all of your gems. Yeah. Which is fine because they never introduced anything new. Yeah. So after a while, what are you going to do with them?
Yeah. True. Yeah, and I think they kind of had to have that build up too to having more power because if they would have had to balance the entire game around you having all 9 gems after a certain point, and at that point it just becomes either we need to come up with new enemy types or we need to spam more enemies, which that was already a problem with this game. Was I felt in some of the later levels they put too much on screen at once. Because there were multiple times where we only got out by the skin of our teeth because somebody got to the Yamato in time and cleared the screen. Yes. Because otherwise there was, like, death on all sides. So, anything else we want to hit with, Lovers in a Dangerous Spacetime?
No, I don't think so. Would you play a sequel?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I would definitely. Maybe not with you.
But, we've got come to a bit of a loggerheads here because I see you have information on your game pulled up. I had in the show notes that I was going to do my game next.
Who cares? Play. Just do it. Who cares?
Okay.
I'm just ready.
Okay. Well, we'll just do my game then.
Go for it.
My game was Syphon Filter on the PlayStation 1. Developed by Eidetic, which is now actually Sony Computer Entertainment's Bend Studio, and published by 989 Studios. It was originally released January 31st, 1999, which makes me feel old.
You are old, Wes.
Because I just realized this game is 16 goddamn years old. Or actually 17 years old.
You math right, Wes.
Because it released in 99. Good lord. And it is 2016 now. So, this game basically, we'll put it this way. This is basically every bad 90s, like every B-grade 90s action film distilled into a game. Like spy thrillers, because you basically play as Gabriel Logan, and he's working for what's just called the Agency, and they're this super secret organization that polices the world, and he's tracking down a terrorist by the name of I forgot his first name, but it's Romer. And he's developing this bioweapon called, oddly enough, Syphon Filter. And the game is basically you trying to track down and stop Romer. And you start off in Washington. They've somehow gotten all the way to Washington, D.C., and they've planted bombs. And the first few levels of the game are you trying to stop the bombs. And then from there it kind of snowballs into just kind of generic conspiracy stuff, because you find out that there's a link to this global pharmaceutical company called Farcom. So you go to their expo and try to track down one of their top executives. And in doing that, you find out there's a mole within the agency, and that snowballs further into, well, at least we found out where Romer's base is. So you go to try to shut him down, and your comm support Leon Zing gets captured, and then you just while you're finally tracking down Romer, you then find out that, oh hey, the agency is evil, and roll credits into Syphon Filter 2. It's really a generic story, and but it never really takes itself seriously. This is in any sense of the word. I think they realized they had like a 90s B movie kind of feel, and they just went whole hog with it. Because this game is probably most famous to gamers for two things. The first is Logan's running animation looks like he dropped a load in his pants. And the second is the taser in this game. If you hold has absurdly long range, and then if you hit somebody with it and keep it trained on them long enough, they burst into flames and die screaming.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So let me guess, you didn't use any other weapons, right?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Because when it has unlimited ammo and it causes people to burst into flame, it's a fun time. I mean, there were a few times where I used like the sniper rifle because it was an easier shot to make, or it was out of range and I needed to use it, But
somebody needs to invent a sniper taser.
Yes.
That bursts people into flames.
Yeah, this game, I mean, it's a solid little shooter. We'll give it that much. The weapons are actually, all joking aside, I did kind of, vary it up a little bit. I used some of the weapons. The weapons all feel decent, the enemies go down in a couple of shots realistically, but the one major complaint I do have about the game is that it did come out shortly after Metal Gear Solid did, so I feel like they took one look at that gameplay and went, well, we should have some stealth too. And the stealth levels in this game are the absolute dog shit worst. Whoa. Because the first one is actually the first half of the 6th level is you at the Farcom Expo, and you're trailing one of their executives, and it's if you get spotted, it's restart the mission, and it wouldn't be as frustrating if it weren't a 90s era PS1 game, because what they do is at several points throughout the level, you round a corner and run right into a spawning guard. Like, it's not a guard that's like on patrol. It's oh, we want a guard here. You're running towards it. Oh, hey, guard! You get spotted, and you're going to get spotted unless you know that guard is there. So you like inch forward and trigger their spawn, and then immediately back up so you can shoot them. And it just felt a little bit cheap and a little bit unnecessary, because you know it was just some developer went, well, we want a gotcha moment, so here, fuck you, you know. Whereas I didn't really ever feel that in the original Metal Gear Solid. You know, it was always me being bad at the game if I got spotted. You know, it wasn't oh, I missed, I didn't know there was a spawn trigger there, so, well, I guess I get to do that entire 10 minutes over again. Because there's no checkpoint throughout the entire first half of that stealth stage, so it basically just becomes trial and error. Which is one of my least favorite part about stealth games like that. You know what I mean? Like, remember the original Splinter Cells? You know, that they kind of got a little bit blasted for their trial and error gameplay? And it's the same thing here. It's just, every time they tell you, hey, you need to stealth here, they are, without exception in Syphon Filter, the worst levels in the game.
But I guess just looking up a few stats, I have to kind of disagree that it was because of Metal Gear Solid that they put that stuff in. I looked, they came out 4 months apart.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, if it was like one level, I could kind of understand them going, okay, throw this in real quick, but from the sounds of it, there's multiple ones. There's one where it's explicitly stealth, like explicitly mission failure if you get seen, and that's the museum level. Yeah. There's another one later on where they kind of, well, actually now that I think about it, it's kind of mission failure if you get spotted too, because the other level, if you get spotted in, is Romer's Base, I believe it is. It's the first base level, where you're trying to plant C4 on his fuel tanks, and if you get spotted there, they still let you continue the mission, but the base alarm is going, and there are infinitely spawning enemies. That's fun. But no, I just think it's more of a Syphon Filter try to do stealth the way that other games would try to do stealth before
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid showed everyone how stealth should be.
Yeah. I suppose I could see that. But, basically for a game I just finished, like, a couple of days ago, I'm really struggling to remember the exact details of the final boss. But, it's basically you throw a gas grenade at Romer and he keels over. Yeah. And you save the girl, you expose the conspiracy, and go to Syphon Filter 2. It's, again, it's a fairly solid game, but it's not, like, super memorable either. You know, I can understand how 2 and 3 got made. I can't understand how everything after 3 got made, but and I've actually beaten 3, which is odd, because 3 is basically tying up every single loose end that was in 1 and 2. But I had never played 1 or 2. Well, I'd played a little bit of 1 and a little bit of 2, but I'd never beaten them. But then 3 came out, and I went, I'll play through it, why not, and beat 3. So...
But Wes, that's not your style.
Yeah, which is weird. Exactly, that's not usually my style. Usually I go 1, 2, 3.
Good counting job.
Yes. Nailed it. Yeah, usually... Yeah, that actually is weird now that I think about it, because usually I am like that. But for some reason with Syphon Filter, I was just like, okay, I'll play 3. Why the fuck not? So, the music... Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, that makes it difficult for me to ask you if you're not going to play the sequels, since you kind of already have. But
yeah, I actually probably will try to see what I can do with 2. I seem to remember that I started playing it, and then I got to... There's another stealth level in that game that is pure undistilled bullshit. And plus they nerfed the taser between games because I think somebody saw the reaction people had to being able to set people on fire and went, stop having fun, guys.
Not stop having fun. Stop breaking our game.
It's not breaking, it's actually coded into the game.
No, that's not the point.
But, if it was like a glitch that, set people on fire, then yeah, I'd agree with you. But
no, I'm talking about, I think they went, okay, that's too overpowered.
Yeah.
Not, don't have fun.
Yeah.
Guys. I don't think any developer goes, people are having too much fun with our video game, let's fix it in the sequel.
I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head, but there have been a few times I thought they've
well, you
done
think
that.
a lot of things that make my head hurt.
Speaking of making your head hurt, how about we just move along to your game, because I think we've kind of mined out Syphon Filter. And that would be the Order 1886, developed by Ready at Dawn and Sony Santa Monica, and released actually around this time last year, February 20th, 2015, for the PlayStation 4.
Yeah.
Take it away, Mr. Isbell.
I still don't know. I still don't know how I feel about this game. Like, the beginning first half, and I will 100% admit that I think a lot of my struggles at the beginning of the game was based on all the criticism you heard. So you have that in your head, and then you start nitpicking at everything. And I can see why people hate this game. Like, all of the criticisms that you've heard, that is bland gameplay, that the story is too short. I get all of it. I agree. But there are points in this game, and there are parts of it, that I see a really good game in there. And I want to know the full story about whether, they really wanted it out in that first year or so of the PS4. They wanted to be at the tail end of the launch window, so they rushed it out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Or what? Because you can definitely tell the parts that they had in the game that were just completely solid. And then you could tell the ones where they're like, well, our game's only 2 hours long, and we have to come out in a little bit. So what the fuck do we do? Oh, I know, let's add 19 waves of enemies to this one spot, and make this okay shooting section into a really boring one. It's really tough for me to sit here and tell you that it's a good game. It's not. But I don't want to sit here and say it's one of the worst games I've ever played, because it's definitely not. It's a lot like Watch Dogs, where the hype of E3 just got too big that when the game came out, it was an okay game, but people went, but E3 said it was going to be the best thing ever, so now it's the worst. So basically, the Order, obviously you're set in 1886, kind of in London, and they use a lot of the mythological stuff of that time. So there's references to Jack the Ripper. There's a little hint of a joke at Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
You have werewolves, you have vampires. Well, you see vampires, they're not used in the game. Again, I don't know if they ran out of time, or if they just wanted it to be, oh, there's vampires in it, look, but we don't know what to do with them, or if they set them for the sequel, or what. But there's hints of vampires in this game. You have the Knights of the Round Table. You have a thing called Blackwater, which was their excuse for regeneration, which every shooter game nowadays has to have, since thank you Halo and Call of Duty and all of that. And Blackwater is basically you drink it and it revitalizes your health. Or if I remember right, there's a scene where somebody becomes a knight and he drinks the Blackwater, and then they cut his hand and they put his blood in the Blackwater little deal that he has, and then it helps. It's an interesting deal, but it's strictly there to be the excuse why you regenerate.
Yeah.
So the story itself is pretty basic. You're trying to figure out what's going on with all the half-breeds that have been attacking, and then as you start solving that mystery, you come to find out that there's a rebel organization that is trying to take down the Order and all the half-breeds, and you meet the leader of the rebel group who you're about to kill, and she tells you that there's a whole conspiracy going on in this game as well, and that there are people in the Order and people even higher up that are part of this half-breed group, and they're the reason why all of this stuff is going on, and you kind of break it down as you go, and you're finding all this stuff. So basically now you are a rebel yourself, so you're going against the Order. So obviously we've seen movies and games where basics happens, you get ostracized, and all of a sudden now you're the bad guy. And the main story itself, nothing new, but I do have to say the second half of the game actually got me. Like, there is a point where a guy comes up and talks to you and says, okay, I don't know if I believe you yet or not, but if we need to go here to find your evidence, if you can show me this evidence, I'm in.
Yeah. So
you take him to this mansion, and you're going through the mansion, and this is where they added some stealth elements to the game, and the stealth actually works okay, but it's like Syphon Filter, where if you get spotted, they instant shoot you and you're dead and you go back. But the Order is beyond nice with its checkpoints. Yeah. So there's never a point in this game where you go, oh my god, I have to do 30 minutes again. It's, oh, I have to do 2 minutes again. But, so you go through the mansion, and you're in the library, and you're trying to find this evidence. And right as you find the evidence, you realize that a door is open, and you go in there, and you see, I can't remember his name. I've lost his name. But anyways, you see one of the leaders
of the Order
eating somebody and coming back from being a half-breed. And so now you're confronting him, and then come to find out that Alistar, who's the guy that I was saying is like, show me the evidence, has brought you here to set you up because you are getting too close to finding the answers. So then you get arrested, and they have the whole trial, and he completely fabricates everything, saying that he followed you there, and you tried to kill him, and whatever. So you get found guilty, and end up having to escape, whatever. So that part was really cool. That's what got me into it. And I think that's why it pissed so many people off. Because then you go from there where it's like, all right, now we're going to take down the Order. All of this stuff's going to be sweet. So you escape from prison, and you're like, all right, I'm going to go back to my weapons guy. And we're like, shit's going to get real. And you get to the weapons guy, and that's where Alistar is, and he turns into his half-breed self. And then you have a quick time event. After it's a quick time battle, basically. Yeah. And you end up winning that battle, and the main Order guy shows up and says how he knew all along that he was a half-breed. You know, he killed his father, but didn't want to kill the kid. He's like, it's an innocent kid, I don't want to kill him. So he raised him. You're like, oh my god, we're getting deeper into this. This is crazy. Yep. And he hands you a gun, and he goes, listen, I can't shoot him, you have to. But you're still out of the Order, you're still ostracized, and if you ever bring this up, we will murder you, basically. So he leaves, you get the whole Metal Gear Solid 3, you have to pull the trigger yourself scene like it was a big deal, but who the fuck cares about this Alistar character at this point? So you shoot him, and the credits roll. And you go, but the Order! Yeah. But all of this stuff! It's like right as the game actually started getting really, really good, it just said, okay, sequel.
Yep.
So, like I said, it's one of those where I really think they rushed it to hit that release window. They took okay shooting segments and added, like, I'm not joking, 7 or 8 extra waves of guys, where it comes from, okay, I'm shooting a few people, to, oh my god, I'm tired of sitting behind this box. I mean, because that's all you have to do in those. It's so weird. I can't place it into words whether I like it or not. I still haven't decided. Because I do my little rankings on the side that we don't even post just for later references and stuff. And, it's an action-adventure game, which is a very broad genre.
Yeah.
And on that list of games that we've played comes Shadow of the Colossus.
Yep.
My problem with Shadow of the Colossus was I hated the story, but the gameplay was amazing. And with The Order, especially the second half, I loved where the story was going, but the gameplay is boring. So it's like polar opposites. Mm. So I also got lucky that I got this like a month ago, where I literally bought the game brand new for $20. It is worth $20. It is a decent enough game, other than a few nitpicky parts and where you can definitely tell they're trying to stretch it out.
Yeah.
But if I would have paid $60 for this game, I understand. I totally understand the hatred towards it. I understand where people really got upset at it. Because, again, it feels stretched out, and it's a 6 to 7 hour game. But the graphics are amazing. The voice actors are awesome. I give them all credit. You get the feel that you're in, that era in London. Everything looks great. There are little things that you can pick up that are just mini side things that you can read about, just to kind of add. I mean, there is so much detail in every room that you go into, because you're going through houses. If you just want to stop and look around, the things that they've added are great. I just wish that they wouldn't have come out with E3 going, this is the PlayStation 4, The Order is going to be our first huge release, and then rush it out there. Because I think if they would have given it even just one more year of development, you're talking one of the better games on the PlayStation 4 library, instead of something that got completely drilled by fans. So I'm hoping that they can rebound from this. I'm hoping that they do create a sequel, and I hope they give it time and create the game they were trying to with the first one.
I don't really have anything to say about the game because basically you've summed up everything. I was going to basically ask, do you feel this game got what it deserved? Or that's not how I wanted to phrase it. Do you feel this game had fair criticisms launched against it is what I was trying to go for.
There were some. I mean, people that go out and say, it's the worst game ever. No, it's a good game, but you could definitely tell.
Yeah.
It was stretched.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little baby game that should have been released for $20, $30 that they stretched to make it pretend like it was a full $60 release.
Mm-hmm. So, the question I want to pose to you that just popped up in my mind is, do you think that the reaction to them rushing out The Order contributed to them being so adamant that Uncharted 4: Thief's End be done properly?
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point.
I mean, to be fair, Naughty Dog also delayed The Last of Us a little bit because they were like, because they also, if you watch the Grounded documentary, which I don't know if you've actually gotten around to yet.
I have not.
I have it on my PS3. I should bring it over sometime. But anyway, they basically flat out say that they were like 6 weeks before release, and they went, "Oh shit, where's the fun?" in The Last of Us, and they made the decision to delay it a little bit. And they found the fun, and, well, The Last of Us, I don't think anybody can deny that it was like one of their, one of the best games of the year it released in, which I think was 2013.
And just best game of that system, really.
Yeah.
But no, I definitely see it. I think if Uncharted 4 was announced at E3 as the first big PlayStation 4 title, and, Sony really was getting on them, going, we need this in the first year, and it rushed out, we may see some of the same problems. I wish that The Order got what Uncharted 4 got, and just got delayed a little bit, so they could, add some new elements to it. Because the shooting feels fine. Like, the quick time events, I'm sure you're with me, do get old. Mm-hmm. But they're used sparingly and in okay situations. There's one situation that just drove me nuts, just as an example of a quick time event gone wrong, where you go into a room and there's a guard up, like, on the second level, and it slows down, and you're supposed to grab the girl and pull her out of the way, because that's where the little trigger thing is. Well, I didn't see the trigger prompt on her hand the first 2 times I attempted this moment. So, it goes boom, boom, and slows down, and
You're sitting there like, huh, what?
Well, I brought my cursor up to him. Like, I have to shoot him really quick.
Yeah.
And I got up there in time and pulled the trigger, but he did nothing, and then he shoots the girl and you die. I'm like, you have to grab her by the hand and have her dodge the bullet instead of just shooting the dude in the face. So there's a couple times where it's a little off, but there's a point where you're in, what is it, Zeppelin? What are those? Zeppelin, the big giant air thing. That is gorgeous. When you're on top of the Zeppelin, like, or zip-lining yourself down into a place to get in. Just, the details around the world are amazing. I just think it needed more time. So it's one of those, I totally understand all the criticism that it's getting, but I feel bad for them because you just know that Sony was on their ass going, we have made you a thing at E3. Everyone is excited for this. Get it out there.
Yeah. And I think part of it is Ready at Dawn didn't really have the clout to go, hey, we're not ready. This isn't going to happen. Whereas Naughty Dog can kind of get away with it because Naughty Dog, at this point, Jak and Daxter, Crash Bandicoot, Jak and Daxter, Uncharted, Last of Us, can kind of go, hey, we know what we're talking about, and if you make us release this game at this date, you're going to have a turd on your hands. Yeah.
Yes.
Whereas Ready at Dawn had Sony going, now, and they go, or Sony going jump, and Ready at Dawn's only response was how high, because all Ready at Dawn had done before this point was I believe they did the God of War mobile, like PSP games.
Yeah, and I looked at it was like Okami and stuff. I think they did ports of that too.
Yeah. Yeah, they'd done ports and portable games. And it was just kind of like, yeah. So, yeah. Which is unfortunate, but it is what it is, They just didn't have the clout to be able to push back on Sony and go, you make us release and it's going to be a turd. But, so, yeah, that will about sum it up for this episode, I think. For this episode's games. Next episode, which we'll be releasing right before the marathon, we will be co-playing Star Fox for the Super Nintendo.
Yes.
I will be playing Wild Arms for the PlayStation 1. And Randy will be playing another Super Nintendo RPG from my childhood that I hope to God he does not shit on mercilessly. And that would be Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars.
I hope I like this one. I do. for both of our sakes. The reason why we picked some of these games is actually our next episode is our 1-year anniversary.
Yep.
So we figured just kind of look back at how we did it on our first episode where, Wes, you played a PlayStation 1 RPG and I played your childhood and pissed all over it. We will see how I like this one.
Yeah.
I feel like this one's going to go a bit better because I've played bits and pieces of some of like the Paper Mario games, which I think take a lot from the Super Mario RPGs.
A little bit. Like the they have like the timed commands sort of aspect, and they have kind of like the unique for Mario kind of display. You know what I mean? But, there are a few differences. But it's a Mario RPG. So, the thing I want to mention, though, is Randy is borrowing my copy of Super Mario RPG to do this. So, I don't know why I feel that's relevant, but, yeah. So, that'll be next episode's games. Hopefully you will enjoy them in our 1-year anniversary, which... that entire week is going to be some fun. We're going to have the episode. We're going to have Mario Maker Mondays. We're going to, which, by the way, Mario Maker Mondays is back now. Now that I have my graphics card back.
Returned.
Yep. Now that I have my graphics card back in my computer and can, do things without fear of my computer blowing up. And all that other good stuff. Real quickly, did anything strike you news-wise the last couple weeks?
No.
Okay. I will take a real brief moment then to, there was a story on Kotaku, Firewatch just came out, right? And, it is a shorter game, apparently, and somebody posted to the Steam community forums and basically asked, hey, I beat this game in less than the amount of time, because Steam refunds basically if you've had the game installed for more than 14 days or you've played it for more than a couple of hours, you're locked out of getting a refund unless the developer, says, yeah, fine. Like what happened with Arkham Knight. So this guy had beaten the game in less than the amount of time it took, the refund window is, and was like, I feel like that was really short. Should I get a refund? And people, on both sides of the issue kind of came into the thread and started weighing in. And one of the developers of the game, from, somebody who worked for Campo Santos, actually came into the thread and was just like, well, hey, since you were polite and, you weren't degrading us or anything, I'll come in and have a conversation with you. And then they went on to, expound for several paragraphs how, they took a chance on this game because they felt there was something special in it. Because all of these guys are, all of Campo Santos basically are like an all-star team. They had jobs elsewhere, and they could go back to those jobs at any time, right? Sort of thing. And they, at several times during the production of Firewatch, there were a couple times where, their mettle was tested, we'll put it. And the developer basically said, yeah, there were a bunch of times where we wanted to do this, and we didn't, but we persevered and we made the game we thought people would enjoy. So, keeping all that in mind, hey, it happens, sometimes the game isn't your cup of tea. I'm not going to, influence you either way, but just keep in mind that we believe in this game. And I'm underselling it a bit because I can't find it. I forgot to bookmark it, and I can't find it now. But, I felt it was really cool of the developer to, come into that thread, and instead of, just closing down the thread without comment, which they had the power to do, or, being really snobby about it and going, hey, fuck you, they went, hey, okay, I can see why you might be a little bit upset about it, and I can see why these things happen, but here's our side of it. And I thought that was a pretty cool moment. So, yeah, thumbs up to Campo Santos, and I actually may, I already was probably going to buy it at some point, but I'll probably buy it. I may try to buy it full price instead of waiting for a sale, like I said. I think I said I was going to when we did it Player Name. So, yeah.
I do like that it's $20 anyway, so
yeah.
You can't expect something huge out of it.
Yeah. So, that'll about do it for this episode of the Backlog Busting Project. We will see you in 2 weeks' time for the next episode, and then a couple days after that for the 24-hour marathon for Extra Life. We are going to be doing some streaming here in the next couple of weeks, kind of like testing out our setups and whatnot. In fact, we're probably going to be streaming a little bit this afternoon, or the afternoon this episode came out. So keep an eye on our Twitter feed, etc., everything. And until next time, as Will Wheaton once said, play more games.
Back on out of here. I tried. I got nothing. I'm not stealing from Will Wheaton. I'm coming with my own shit. It didn't work.
Crickets chirping.